Okay, so today we're going to talk about what do we mean by pathways? And this is one of my favorites because pathways is something that I have done a ton of work in, but a very particular type of pathways. So I have worked with developmental math pathways. There's also just math pathways, then there's career pathways. Pathways basically became the way modules was for years. It's like everybody was using it, nobody was using it the same way. So when anybody says pathways, I typically stop them and say, please define what you mean by that, because we could just be talking about career pathways. It's not necessarily anything. It could be a program of study. It could be a course. We all have different assumptions of what we mean by that phrase. Okay, so in math, the way that pathways is often used, there's two different versions of it. There's just general math pathways. And this is the idea of having students take courses in math that relate to the outcome courses or their meta majors that they're going to be in. So in English, instead of everybody taking college algebra as a requirement, we're looking at, okay, what are they going into? What degree are they going into? And then say if it's an Associates of Arts, Bachelor's of Arts, Bachelor's of Science, as Applied Science, whatever it is, and having a math course that is aligned to the outcomes of that degree. That's what you're trying to do. So instead of this one size fits all, and we've had this in a lot of states have had things like this for a long time, meaning they don't just have college algebra as an acceptable requirement to graduate, to have your math requirement met. It might be like a quantitative reasoning course, a liberal arts math class, a statistics course. There's a variety of different things that colleges have used. The kind of pathways that I worked on was basically taking that idea and we move it down a level into developmental math. And this is something that has really, it's continued. I'm so excited to see, when we started working on this in 2009, and there was a variety of different groups at the national level that worked on something called developmental math pathways. How could we differentiate developmental courses based on the student's meta major? So not everybody's in beginning algebra. Maybe if you're headed towards statistics, you take something different. What I love is that this stuck. This did not disappear. Now, has it evolved? Absolutely. With CORECs, with the success that we've seen in CORECs, developmental math pathways have absolutely evolved, but they still exist. And I'd say they really exist when you're thinking in terms of co-requisites. This idea of we don't just have one course that we co-requisite. We have the idea of having a student determine what's your meta major, and then that determines your outcome course. Are you headed towards statistics? Are you headed towards college algebra? That is going to determine your experience. If you're not ready for those courses, your pathway is going to be defined by that outcome, and how you get there is going to be different. So if you have a co-requisite, it could look different. If you're not ready for a co-requisite, or if you need more than a co-requisite and you have a course that is before that outcome course, it's going to look different. It's the idea of not doing one size fits all. But this is definitely one that I would encourage you, because it does get battered around so much in papers, in meetings, just everywhere. When someone says pathways, respectfully stop them and say, please define what you mean, because definitely there are lots of ways to use that term. All right, I shall see you next week.